I still remember that night as if it were yesterday. The air in Las Vegas was hot and dry, just like my luck. My name's Eli Rothman, and I've been around the block in this city of sin. Played every game, lost every bet, and I was looking for something, anything, that would turn the tide. That's when I saw it. The Pluto's Realm sign glowing in neon blues and purples. A new casino that seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. It wasn't on the strip, but tucked away in some side alley, almost as if it was hiding. But in Vegas, the house always wants to be found. So, I walked in. The atmosphere hit me instantly. This was not your typical casino. Instead of the cacophony of slot machines and raucous laughter, there was an eerie calm. The lighting was dim, yet vivid, each table illuminated as if it were a stage. The dealers wore pitch-black suits, and their eyes were the color of the night sky, speckled with stars. The clientele were different, too. They had the demeanor of folks who were playing with something much heavier than money. And it wasn't long before I realized what was at stake here was far beyond anything I had ever gambled with. But hey, when you're as down on your luck as I was, you're willing to try anything. I started to roam around the casino floor, my eyes darting from one oddly lit game table to another. Poker, blackjack, roulette. They had it all, but it was different, like looking at the funhouse mirror version of each game. The roulette wheel looked like a swirling galaxy, and the poker chips glowed in your hand as if they had a life of their own. I approached a poker table, and a dealer with those entrancing, starry eyes nodded at me.
Care to join, Mr. Rothman?
As if he'd known me for years. How did you... I started, but then thought better of it. This was Vegas. Weird was part of the package. I sat down, and that's when I noticed the players around me weren't wagering with money. One guy pushed forward a poker chip that looked like it had a teardrop encased in it. Another, a woman with eyes as vacant as a ghost town, slid forward a chip with a ticking clock icon. Intrigued, I looked at the chips in front of me. There were symbols on them too, a heart, a brain, an hourglass. I instinctively pushed forward the chip with the heart symbol.
Ah, emotions, the currency of the reckless.
The dealer smirked, dealing the cards. I won the first hand. The feeling was exhilarating, like an adrenaline shot. But it was the second hand that made me realize something was off. I lost, and suddenly, a wave of sadness washed over me, so intense it was almost physical. I felt drained, hollow.
You'll get used to it,
said the man next to me, his voice devoid of any emotion, like he'd lost them all long ago. I wanted to leave, but an invisible thread pulled me deeper into the games, into the bet with stakes that were metaphysical, not monetary. My heart raced. I was sinking further into a realm I didn't understand. I should have left right then and there, but by that point, it was already too late for me. I stayed at that casino longer than I should have, lured by a series of wins and losses that took pieces of me I didn't even know I had. Time blurred. In that eerie, timeless bubble, I felt like I was in the company of gods, or demons more likely. A fellow player, Marla, leaned over and whispered,
"You realize we're not in Vegas anymore, right? Look around you, Eli."
I glanced up, and what I saw made me question my sanity. The ceiling was a dome of shifting constellations. The walls breathed. People at the bar weren't drinking cocktails. They were imbibing nebulous orbs that pulsed in sync with the cosmic music.
"You can leave, you know, but you'll have to beat them at their own game."
Them? I asked, not sure I wanted to know.
"The cosmic entities,"
pointing subtly towards the high roller room. There sat players not human, their forms flickering like mirages, their faces an ever-changing canvas of otherworldly beauty and horror. A dealer approached, handing me an ornate key.
"You've been granted access to the high-stakes room."
My heart sank and soared at the same time. Should I go?
"Do you feel lucky?"
She responded, a haunting sadness filling her eyes. Throwing caution to the wind, I stood up and walked toward the high-stakes room, the ornate key heavy in my pocket. I opened the door and stepped into a realm of unimaginable grandeur and terror, a celestial battleground where souls and eons were the ante. There, the entity greeted me, a formless face emerging from the fabric of space-time itself.
"Welcome, Eli Rothman.
It said, its voice a chorus of whispers.
Are you ready to gamble with the gods of the underworld?"
As I sat down to play, a shiver ran down my spine. The entity dealt the cards, each one a fragment of a dying star, and the game began. It felt like poker, but played in an arena of dimensions beyond understanding. The entity placed its bet, the stakes being a millennium of cosmic silence. The implications were too vast for me to grasp. I felt my pulse quicken as I examined my hand. They weren't cards anymore, but memories, fears, ambitions, every emotion a formless card of its own. I raised the entity, 5 years of my past, and the entity matched.
Are you certain, Eli Rothman? Time is not just money here. It is existence.
I nodded. Deal the next card. The entity flipped the card onto the table. It was a nebula exploding into a supernova. It grinned, an unsettling sight.
It seems you lose, Eli Rothman. Your past is mine.
I felt it then, a wrenching sensation as memories tore away from me, faces and names vanishing into the celestial prison that was Pluto. I was losing myself, yet I couldn't stop. Desperation filled me. I needed to win, not for the memories, but to escape this endless cycle of cosmic entrapment. The entity dealt again, and this time I gambled with my deepest fear. And I won. The entity hissed, the sound echoing like a cosmic dissonance.
You may retrieve what you lost, and something of mine.
My memories flowed back into me like a returning tide, accompanied by a newfound sensation, the entity's fear. Now it was time to leave, to escape from this Pluto-bound hellhole. I stood up, the room shimmering as if in protest. I think I'm done for tonight.
You may leave, but remember, you are forever entwined in the fabric of Pluto, the celestial prison. You may find your earthly troubles trivial compared to the cosmic horrors you've glimpsed.
As I stepped out of the high-stakes room, the casino disintegrated into stardust behind me, depositing me back into the Vegas night. I looked around. The people, the lights, the casinos, all appeared so trivial now. I walked away, haunted and enlightened, forever carrying a piece of Pluto's cosmic terror within me. I found myself walking the streets of Vegas, the city's neon glamour a stark contrast to the existential abyss I'd just escaped. My phone buzzed. It was a text from an old friend I couldn't remember ignoring. The memories I'd wagered and won back settled into me, but they felt distant, almost alien. I hailed a cab and told the driver to take me to the airport. As the cab maneuvered through the sea of lights and sin, I realized I couldn't go back to who I was before tonight, not after glimpsing the cosmic dread that lurked beyond our reality. The driver dropped me off, and I boarded a red-eye flight back to my hometown. As the plane took off, I gazed out of the window at the sprawling city below. Somewhere down there, another version of that otherworldly casino probably still existed, waiting for its next victim. But it could keep waiting. I wasn't the same gamble-hungry Eli anymore. When I got home, I felt a nagging emptiness, a void where my deepest fear used to be. I'd left it behind, somewhere in that cosmic casino on Pluto. But what I hadn't realized until now was that the entity had also left something within me, a sliver of its cosmic fear. I carried a piece of Pluto, a fragment of the celestial prison, embedded in my very being. I lay in bed, unable to sleep, pondering the night's horrors. Suddenly, my room's walls seemed to stretch into infinite darkness, as if beckoning me back to Pluto. With a shudder, I realized I was forever tied to that distant world and its ancient entities. In the silence of the night, I thought I heard the faintest whisper, a celestial murmur echoing across space and time. It was a reminder, a call, an invitation for the next gamble. I closed my eyes, knowing that although I'd escaped for now, I was forever bound to the cosmic horrors lurking in the abyss, waiting for their next opportunity to reclaim what was lost. Sleep was the last thing I wanted, but exhaustion had other ideas. The world stretched and folded around me like reality itself was melting. When I finally opened my eyes, I was standing on a barren, icy wasteland. The icy surface cracked and shimmered under Pluto's dim sun, a horizon of death stretching infinitely. And then, rising from the ice like a monstrous spectre, the entity appeared, a formless nightmare, its body a swirling vortex of cosmic dread. It spoke, each word like a symphony of dissonant whispers.
Eli Rothman, you've opened a door you cannot close. An abyss gazes within you, and you within it.
I tried to speak, but my voice felt stolen. I was paralyzed, a captive audience to this cosmic horror. The entity continued, its voice morphing into an ever-changing cacophony of screams and whispers.
You wear my mark now, a cosmic brand forever etched into your soul. This place, this isolation, this emptiness will become you, and you it. Do you feel the weight of existence, Eli? The eternal cold? That is but a fraction of the dread you've absorbed. The dice have been thrown, but the game is never over.
I jolted awake, drenched in a cold sweat, my heart pounding against my ribcage like a frenzied drum. The room was pitch black, but the haunting words of the entity reverberated in my mind, filling the darkness with unseen terrors. I glanced at the alarm clock. It was 3:33 a.m., a mocking mirror of the numbers that had seemed so lucky in that accursed casino. Was it a coincidence, or the universe's twisted sense of humor? I couldn't tell. I got up and walked to the kitchen, trembling. As I poured myself a glass of water, my reflection in the window morphed. For a split second, my eyes were not mine. They were voids of infinite blackness. I blinked, and it was gone. Just a trick of the light, or a whisper of the nightmare yet to come. I realized then that this was not over. I was marked, bound to a cosmic dread far beyond my understanding. The entity was not just a nightmare. It was a living, breathing fear, woven into the very fabric of my existence. I sat at my kitchen table, my hands shaking uncontrollably as I pondered my next steps. I needed to go back to Vegas. In that moment, I made a silent vow. I would face this terror. I would confront the entity. I would gamble once more, not for years or memories, but for something far more precious, my very soul. It was a high-stakes game, but I was all in.